The cafe hummed with the soft murmur of Tuesday afternoon conversations. Sarah Mitchell sat alone at a corner table, her fingers tracing nervous patterns on the condensation of her untouched water glass. She checked her phone again, 4:47 p.m. 17 minutes late. A blind date. At 42 years old, she told herself she was done with these awkward setups, but her sister Emma had been insistent. Just one more try, Emma had pleaded. He's a CFO, divorced, loves hiking. You two would be perfect. Sarah had reluctantly agreed, though she'd learned long ago that perfect on paper rarely translated to real life. Still, she'd driven the 30 minutes from her veterinary clinic in Boulder to this upscale Denver cafe, hoping against hope that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. 4:52 p.m. She felt the familiar sting of humiliation creeping up her neck. The waitress had passed by 3 times already, each glance more sympathetic than the last. Sarah began rehearsing her exit strategy. She'd leave cash for the water, slip out the side entrance, and text Emma some excuse about emergency surgeries. Just as she reached for her purse, the cafe door swung open. 2 young women walked in, identical twins with dark skin and bright, confident smiles. They couldn't have been more than 19 or 20, dressed in matching university hoodies. They scanned the room, their eyes landing on Sarah. Her stomach tightened. They were walking toward her table. Dr. Mitchell, one of them asked, her voice warm and slightly apologetic. Sarah blinked. Yes? The twins exchanged a glance before the other spoke. We're Zara and Nia Henderson. Our dad apologizes for the delay. He's stuck in an emergency board meeting that ran over. He texted us to come explain in person rather than just sending a message. He should be here in about 15 minutes, if you're willing to wait. Sarah felt her carefully constructed defenses waver. She'd been prepared for abandonment, for another humiliating no-show to add to her collection. But this. Your father sent you both here to apologize to me. Zara nodded, pulling out her phone to show Sarah a text thread. He was mortified about being late. He said he'd completely understand if you wanted to reschedule, but he really hopes you'll stay. He's been looking forward to this all week. Nia added, he made us promise to tell you that he's not normally like this. The meeting was supposed to end at 4, but there's some crisis with a merger. Something in their earnestness touched Sarah. These young women hadn't needed to come here. A simple text would have sufficed. But they'd made the effort, just as their father had clearly raised them to do. Would you two like to sit while we wait? Sarah found herself asking. The twins grinned and slid into the booth across from her. Dad told us a little about you, Nia said, her eyes bright with curiosity. You're a veterinarian. Sarah nodded, feeling herself relax slightly. I run a small animal clinic. Mostly dogs and cats, though we get the occasional rabbit or guinea pig. That's amazing, Zara said. I'm pre-med at CU, thinking about pediatrics. And I'm in social work, Nia added. We both want to help people, well, and animals, just in different ways. As they talked, Sarah learned that the twins were college juniors, that they'd grown up with their father after their mother passed away when they were 8, that he'd balanced his demanding career with raising them while never missing a school play or soccer game. He's annoyingly punctual usually, Zara said with affection. This is driving him crazy. I can tell from his texts, he keeps apologizing. What's his name? Sarah asked, realizing she'd agreed to this date with minimal information. Marcus. Marcus Henderson. 20 minutes later, a man burst through the cafe door, slightly out of breath, his tie loosened and jacket over his arm. He was tall, with graying temples and warm brown eyes that immediately found his daughters, and then Sarah. I am so sorry, he said as he approached, genuine distress on his face. The meeting was supposed to, your daughters already explained, Sarah interrupted, surprising herself with a smile. It's okay. Marcus looked at his twins with obvious pride and relief. Thank you both. You can head home now. Actually, Sarah said, would you two like to stay? Have some coffee or dessert? It seems only fair since you rescued your dad from his date standing him up. The twins laughed, and even Marcus cracked a smile at that. We'd love to, Nia said, but we have a study group. Dad, we'll see you at home. After they left, Marcus sat down across from Sarah, still looking apologetic. I really am sorry. That's not how I wanted to start this. Actually, Sarah said thoughtfully, sending your daughters might have been the best thing you could have done. I learned more about you in 20 minutes with them than I probably would have in 2 hours of awkward first date small talk. Marcus's shoulders relaxed. They're pretty great, aren't they? They really are. You've done an incredible job raising them. I had a lot of help, my mother, my sister, a village really. But thank you. He paused, his expression growing more serious. Emma told me a little about your situation. That you'd had some difficult experiences with dating. Sarah felt herself tense. Did she? I hope it's okay that she did. I asked her to be honest about both of us. I wanted to know what I was walking into. He met her eyes directly. My wife died 12 years ago. Breast cancer. For a long time, I couldn't even think about dating. The girls needed me, and I needed to just survive each day. Then when I finally felt ready, I realized I had no idea how to do this anymore. I've had my share of bad experiences too. Women who couldn't handle that I came with 2 daughters. Women who wanted me to be over my grief faster than I was. A few who just weren't kind people. His honesty disarmed her. Sarah found herself sharing more than she'd planned. I've been stood up 4 times in the past 2 years. One guy told me I was too focused on animals to be attractive. Another said I should consider being less independent if I wanted to find a husband. The last one just never showed up at all, then texted me 3 days later asking if I wanted to try again. Marcus winced. I'm sorry. That's cruel. Your daughters told me you're never late. I'm really not. This was a perfect storm of bad timing and a CEO who doesn't understand boundaries. But I should have, Marcus, Sarah interrupted gently. You sent your daughters to apologize in person. You couldn't be here, but you made sure I wasn't left wondering or feeling abandoned. That says everything I need to know about your character. His eyes softened. So, should we actually order something? Maybe start this date properly. Sarah smiled, genuinely this time. I'd like that. They talked until the cafe began closing for the evening, discovering shared loves of hiking and mystery novels, comparing stories about their work lives, finding unexpected common ground in their losses and the way they'd rebuilt their lives afterward. As they walked to their cars, Marcus said, I'd really like to see you again. Maybe this weekend. There's a trail near Nederland I've been wanting to try. I'd love that, Sarah said. And Marcus. Thank you for not giving up on me when you were late. A lot of people would have just texted and moved on. My mother taught me better than that, he said with a smile. And honestly, the way you welcomed my daughters and invited them to stay. That told me everything I needed to know about you, too. 6 months later, Sarah stood in her clinic's reception area, reviewing charts before her first appointment. Her phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. Zara got her MCAT scores back. She's over the moon. Dinner celebration tonight at our place. The girls want you there, Sarah smiled, typing back, wouldn't miss it. I'll bring dessert. She'd learned something important that day in the cafe, something she'd almost given up believing, that kindness could show up in unexpected ways, that being late wasn't the same as not caring, and that sometimes the best beginnings started with daughters who loved their father enough to apologize on his behalf. The empty table had become the beginning of fullness, of laughter, companionship, and a cobbled-together family that fit perfectly despite its unconventional origins.